You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
HRN is food radio supported by you. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org. This episode of Pizza Quest is brought to you by Central Milling, hand-selected grain, expertly milled for passionate bakers. Central Milling is the farmer, the miller, and the baker working together to preserve American farmland for tomorrow while providing the highest quality flour and grains for the bakers of today. Dating back over 150 years, Central Milling is built on generations of knowledge, and they know that premium flour starts at the source. Employee-owned, Central Milling works directly with their farmers to sustainably grow grains that have exceptional flavor, nutrient content, color, and baking performance, which results in one of the largest selections of premium specialty flour and grains in the country. Hand-selected for the highest baking qualities, milled, cracked, or blended slowly to minimize heat generation, then bake-tested for performance. Learn more about Central Milling and their products at centralmilling.com.
This episode is supported by HRN business member Chemists in the Kitchen by LabX. Chemists in the Kitchen is a YouTube video series by LabX spotlighting the power of chemistry and how science and food can bring people together. In each episode, real scientists walk you through topics like making your own pickles, the chemistry behind ceviche, and much, much more. It's a love letter to science, cooking, and individuality, with some great tips on how you can apply real scientific principles to your own kitchen. Plus, it's just a lot of fun. Subscribe on YouTube to watch the entire series for free. Chemist in the Kitchen by LabX is a program of the National Academy of Sciences and supports HRN's creative educational reporting and storytelling that drive conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place.
Welcome to Pizza Quest. I'm Peter Reinhardt, coming to you from the 2024 International Pizza Expo in Las Vegas. And I'm sitting in the hall right now. It hasn't opened yet. It's very quiet here compared to some of the other shows that we've been doing from here, where you've got thousands of people milling by. But I'm sitting here with our longtime friend, one of our favorite guests, Scott Wiener of Scott's Pizza Tours in New York, and a whole lot more than that. And I want to talk about it because I always refer to you as the most connected guy in pizza. And so Scott is really a major presence here at Pizza Expo. He's everywhere. He knows everybody, and very involved in a number of things, including Slice Out Hunger. That's one of the projects you started. Are you involved with any of the competitions this year, Scott?
I am, yeah. I'm a lead judge, so that means that I'm involved with some of the coordination of how the judging system works, and if there's ever a question, they'll defer to me about how the judging
I remember
work.
A couple of years ago you were working on refining that judging system. That was your baby too.
That's correct. Yeah. So I worked pretty closely with Mike LaMarca and with Jeremy at Master Pizza.
Yeah.
And they really run the competition. But the competition this year, they allowed us to have more flexibility with controlling judging. So we have all these new things in the judging system, where we have a code of ethics for the judges to sign.
Wow.
And we have much more clarified rules and regulations so that the competitors understand how the judging works. We had a couple of podcasts and shows that people could listen to just to understand in advance how the judges operate.
A pre-briefing.
Well, we want people to know what we're doing and how we're doing it so that they can compete in the right way.
Right, so that they don't put their heart and soul into something and then get disqualified. Or
yeah,
whatever.
you know what? Years ago, they used to have a line on the judging panel that said, you give a score for marketability. And that line doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So when a competitor is creating a pizza, sometimes they create it with that in mind.
Uh-huh.
It has to be marketable. It has to be cost efficient. Since that's gone, we want to make sure they know you don't have to worry about that. Or if creativity is part of it, like in the pan pizza division, we want you to know that we're judging you based on how creative it is. So if you do a plain cheese pizza in a pan division, it's not as likely to score well because there's a creativity.
Yeah, we're not getting all the potential of what it could be.
Yeah, and that's really just, you know what? Honestly, it's just knowing the rules of a sport. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like, well, wait, I can jump super, super high, and then we'll say, well, that doesn't help in golf.
Yeah.
So,
right.
You know what I mean? It's like, congratulations, you're a great athlete.
44-inch vertical leap does not get you a high golf score.
Exactly, and we want people to know that take a look at the score sheet, understand what it is that we are scoring on, and that's it. So
well, this is the third day of the expo, which means you've had a couple of days of competitions already, correct?
Yes, we have.
And are you seeing any differences this year? Anything you can point to of creativity, innovation?
Well, I know
none of the winners have been announced yet, right?
They announced the winners from the divisions.
Each day?
Yeah.
Oh.
So today is the finals. I think the only thing that's today is the finals. So I only judged on Tuesday. I didn't judge yesterday. I'm judging the finals today. And we're always judging a combination. So there are 5 divisions. You're sitting at a judge's table, you could get a pizza from any of the 5 divisions. You could get a traditional pizza, and then 10 minutes later you get a non-traditional pizza. Those are 2 divisions. And then 10 minutes after that, maybe there's a vegan pizza that lands in front of you.
So are the pizzas that are competing today winners of the earlier divisions? So it's like a best of the best now?
Yeah, exactly. We have the best of the best as one of the competitions, and then we're going to have Pizza Maker of the Year.
Wow.
So I'll be judging both of those, and unlike all the other competitions, these 2 are public. So the judges will be in front of the competitors.
Wow.
The past few days, we worked really hard. Jeremy and Michael from Master Pizza worked really hard to make sure that all of the competitions would be blind until the finals.
Yeah, because everyone knows each other.
Exactly. Yeah. But when the finals come up, you know everybody.
Yeah.
So when I'm sitting at the table, it's not like I only know one of the 4 people.
Yeah.
I know all 4 of them. There's not one of them that I want to score higher than the others. And we have a code of ethics the judges sign, and as long as you read that and understand that and stick to it, the judging should work out fine.
So today's the day. This is like best in show day,
yeah,
and
exactly.
That should be exciting. Did you see anything? And one of the things I loved about the pizza competitions over the past few years that I've come, and I've been a judge every once in a while myself, is you get to see a little bit of the future, and kind of get a sense of. I haven't seen this pizza out in the marketplace yet, but I could see in 2 years this is what's going to tip over. Are you getting any of that?
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of it. I'm seeing a lot of post-oven finishes, unexpected post-oven finishes, a little bit more of the candied fruits or nuts, and things that you didn't expect quite before. It used to be throw everything on a dough, put it in the oven, and what comes out is the food. Yeah. Now that's only 60% of it. Edible flowers used to be kind of a plaything, fun. Now it's happening more and more.
Interesting, and of course glazes and streaks of gastrique and all sorts of stuff over the top.
Absolutely,
that's already been here. Now that's not new anymore, but it seems like it's a lot of pizzerias that wouldn't have cared about that in the future are now adding it to the repertoire.
I think they're seeing that as, wait a second, I have another opportunity to add a level of flavor to this pizza. Whether it's an infused olive oil or it's a grated cheese or basil or something more creative like candied walnuts.
Yeah.
For texture. They're realizing that there's a broader landscape. And I think it all just points to the thing that's always been a reality, which is that the definition of pizza is not stationary.
Yeah, right.
You remember,
it's like a moving target.
1975, you put candied walnuts on a pizza, they kick you out of the room.
You're out of the business, yeah.
Now it's, well, why wouldn't you?
Interesting how the evolution of the category of the whole industry has changed.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've seen it too.
Well, I see it. I think that this is a place where a lot of that gets implemented. People win competition. People don't take you seriously until you win something with it. So if you win a best in show or win, some kind of notoriety for a style that you've done, and now Instagram is helping with that as well, suddenly you get credibility that you couldn't have gotten back in the pre, social media age. And
absolutely.
And so things are happening at a lightning rate. That's why I can't keep up with it anymore. But we see it here sometimes.
Peter, you're one of the ones who's inspiring it. When you come out with a book, like the pan pizza, like the square pizza book, that's what inspires people, because the proof of concept is I see this picture, I've read the recipe, I try it, and also, Peter did it.
It's funny. My pan pizza book
that's where I introduced the technique that no one else, as far as I know, uses. And that's what I call the embedded cheese technique.
Cheese,
and I keep thinking, you know what? I've never entered that in a competition. Maybe I should try to enter it and see because if I win here, then all of a sudden everyone will put it on their menu.
It's true, but
I don't know if I have the energy to compete. I mean, it's so the guys who come here.
You just competed in California, Peter.
I did, and it wore me out. It was a lot of work, and I was up against a lot of younger folks. That was the thing. So I came out of that thinking. It was good. It was really a great experience, but I got my butt kicked, by just the effort that it took, and by the younger folks who with all that energy.
These competitions they're so complicated. They're so hard because it's not just about can you make a good pizza. It's can you make a good pizza today?
Yeah,
in this kitchen,
oven.
in this
in an oven you've never worked in before.
Yeah,
you and I are going to do one today. We're going to do a demo today. Here we're at the Pizza University booth, and we're going to do a demo to promote a class that you and I are going to do in May. So this is a shameless part of the show today, our plug, that if you're interested in coming to a 3-day pizza class that Scott and I are going to teach at Pizza University, which is just outside of Baltimore, between Baltimore and Washington. It's going to be May, I think Monday through Wednesday. Is it May 17th or something?
23rd.
20. Yeah, I don't have the card in front of me, but
Mariana, what days are our class? Do you know off the top of your head? May 14th to the 16th, maybe.
We're looking it up. But anyway, what you want to do is go to the Pizza University website, pizzauniversity.org, I believe.
pizzauniversity.org.
Pizzauniversity.org, and check it out. It's a 3-day event. It's not going to be. It's not
13th through 15th.
It's not for the meek of heart. I mean, it's going to be. There's a charge for the class. You've got expenses to be staying there. So you have to really want it. But we really want you.
Well, this is not a class. It's a course.
A course, okay.
And it's a big. I'm thrilled. I still can't believe that I've been asked to teach with you.
Well, you've been teaching at the university there. This is my first time there. You've been there and done a number of courses.
I have taught there a bunch, but I mean, you and your books are part of what got me into pizza. They're a huge part of what got me into it.
Wow.
American Pie, I remember when I read that, I emailed you.
Oh, yeah.
You actually wrote back.
Yeah.
And I was so thrilled
about
20
years
idea.
ago. It's amazing, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the first email ever sent.
Wow.
But,
I had no idea.
But that's why our class, I'll pull it up. I'll see if I can find it. Our class is going to be so fun because it's really taking your approach to all of it is from the ground up. Pizza is bread, and your definition is so wide and open. You only believe in two pizzas: good pizza and great pizza.
Good and very good.
Yeah, good and very good. Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, because pizza, even if you screw it up, it's still pretty darn good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But in this course, what's exciting is it's teaching different approaches and the nuts and bolts, and not just the how, but the why.
Yeah. And that's the fun part for me.
I think that's also what helps it click for people. Because if they say, oh, I understand the how, I did this in this order. But if they don't know the why, then they can't troubleshoot.
Yeah. And we had a panel yesterday here at the Expo with a master panel with John Arena, Leo Spazzeri, Brian Spangler, and I was the moderator. And it was called Tinkering with Your Dough. And we had like 200 people in the room. The room was overfull. People were sitting on the floor because they're hungry to learn the little tweaks that they could make in their dough. But as we took questions from the audience and started to answer them, we realized that to answer them in depth would fly over the heads of half the other people. Not everybody could follow. So Leo gave a very detailed explanation of baker's math, of how to calculate, all the ingredients as a ratio against flour. And I could see like half the room was glazing over because it was like more than they could handle. It was like TMI. And then there were others who were like geeking out on it and going, wow, I mean, it's exactly what I want to hear. But then I said, there are other approaches. What Leo gave you was the gold standard. But there's other ways to get there. I use a different method myself than the one that's the gold standard. Bread Bakers Guild of America established the gold standard for how to do a dough formula. And
tell me more.
Well, the key to it, I'll just give you the headline because we need to actually have a whole workshop on it here sometime. Is that you base it on the total flour weight of the product, which includes any sponges or pre-ferments or sourdough starters. That flour has to be part of that initial weight.
That's what I would think.
And that's how when you write it out, that's how it's done. It's broken out so that, let's say he uses the example of 1,000 grams of total flour. And that makes it easy. If everything's based on the 1,000 grams, the percentages are easy to calculate. Easier than, say, 1,000 ounces because it's trickier in ounces and pounds. So a lot of bakers are moving over and pizza makers into metrics. But more importantly, is if you've got like a piece of sourdough starter and you want to use 40% of the dough is going to be sourdough starter, how much of the flour of that 1,000 grams is in your sourdough starter? See, when I do it, I just count the sourdough starter as a separate ingredient. I start 1,000 ingredients of new flour, fresh flour, and then everything else is a ratio against that. That's a different calculation system. It works. It's not as accurate as the one that we talked about.
Leo was saying that you include every pre-ferment as part of your overall.
And every ingredient gets into the total.
That's what I do.
All based on the 1,000 total flour.
Because I don't understand if I were making, let's say, a 67% hydration dough, and now I introduce a 100% sourdough starter.
Yeah.
Depending on the amount of starter I use, I'm increasing my total hydration.
Yeah.
But if I subtract the starter components from the overall recipe, I'm maintaining a standard.
Absolutely, it's the most accurate way.
That's
to do
what
it.
I
absolutely
prefer to do.
But you're among the minority of people who understand it because you've forced yourself to learn it. I have students at Johnson & Wales where I teach. When I'm teaching baker's math to them, they start to cry. I mean, it's so overwhelming. Math is such a frightening subject for kids who just want to come and cook that they go, I didn't come here to learn math. I came here to learn how to cook. And we try to explain. We talk them off the ledge. We say, look, it's not that hard. It's not as hard as it looks. We'll walk you through it. But you have to know how to do this math if you want to have control of what you're doing.
I think, and so I think I don't want to go too crazy because if anybody listening it doesn't even know what baker's math is, I think what has helped me a lot, John Arena taught me this, is to not think of it as what percentage of starter are you using, but what's your percentage of pre-fermented flour?
Yes, that's
so if
right.
you say my starter is going to be, instead of saying you're going to use 10% starter, I would say I'll use 10% pre-fermented flour, which means out of 1,000 grams of a total flour, 100 grams of flour plus 100 grams of water.
That's right.
Which means I need 200 grams of starter.
So that water that's in your starter also comes out of the total hydration because you want to work backwards from the total. If your total dough is going to be
columns.
like 72% hydration, but your starter is super wet like a sponge, then you have to figure out how to get there. And so you have a chart and you work it all out. Now, if you're doing it my way, which is faster but not necessarily as accurate, you kind of have to feel your way into it. Is if I'm using a wet starter or if I'm using the actual starter that I end up making is going to weigh 40% of will typically be about 33% of the flour that I'm putting into the final dough. I know that I've got to back off on the water in my final recipe. I know that I have to increase the salt because there's no salt in the starter, so it's much less accurate. But if your mind is sort of around that system, you can figure it out. A lot of the formulas in my books, I bump up the salt and I bump down the water because I'm doing that work for the reader, But it's a different system. But my system is basically not the gold standard system. It's the system for people. It's the system for people who don't want to fuss with the math.
Well, the way I think of it is in extremes.
Yeah.
So if you decide that you're going to make a dough with 90% starter, well, when you mix your dough and then add 90% that amount of your flour of starter, it's going to be an extremely wet dough.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then to keep the scale always the same, I just percentage of pre-fermented flour. Double that, and that's your amount of starter.
You've got your mind around the best system, I have to say. But
and I think it's easier.
But not and it is easier once you learn it. It's scary as hell for people who don't get it right away.
You know what we should do? Before the class, we'll do this. So I use like a spreadsheet that I make in Excel or Sheets, and then I just plug in. I'll show it to you. I just plug in the how much dough I want to make, how big are the dough balls, and then.
So basically you plot it all
out. I hate
math.
Yeah. But I did it once when I made the spreadsheet.
But you've already put the math into the computer, so
exactly.
It does it for you. So for anybody who can come to our class, and when we'll do kind of like a preamble on how to do that.
Nobody leaves the room until we all understand.
You'll learn how
math.
to do it. Okay, good.
And I promise we'll make it sound simpler than we are right now.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you talking about it is much harder to grasp than actually doing it.
Well, because it's also funny. Like a lot of bakers are people who you love the feel of the dough and the process of nature
Yeah.
unraveling
Yeah.
and biology interacting with the physics of the oven.
Absolutely.
And the chemistry of salt interacting with protein. All this. And then at the end of the day to say, well, it all starts with a calculator is a bit of a wet blanket.
Yeah.
We're going to warm up that blanket and make it cozy.
Well, that's interesting because, we, as craftspeople, as artisans, we like to think it's all by feel. But, there's also what we call mise en place, right? There's getting organized and getting everything scaled out properly. And if you don't scale things out properly, it doesn't matter how good your hands are, you're not going to get a great product. So there's craft and there's science and there's art, and it all kind of comes together. And I think that's why people are so fascinated with not only bread making, but with pizza making, which is a subset of bread making. It's a bigger subset. It's bigger than the original, master set, because there's a lot more pizza makers than there are bread makers in America. But it's all connected. And I think we've seen this here at the Expo, that the bread community and the pizza community have come together through Pizza Expo and some of the bread, because a lot of bread bakers are now making pizzas, and a lot of pizza makers are now making bread. And they're so related anyway, why not? And so the bread community essentially was the source of information and education to the pizza makers who wanted to understand the science of baking dough, of making doughs better. And so it's kind of cool how it all came together.
I wonder if you're seeing this too. I keep running into pizza makers here who also do bagels.
Bagels are hot.
Yeah.
We've talked about that on Pizza Quest. The bagels are showing up in, not either in the pizzeria or next door. The same owner.
Absolutely.
Like Tony Gemignani, for instance, who sets a lot of the trends for us. He's got a bagel shop right next to his pizza shop, and there's others that are doing it as well. Why not? I mean, they got the same machines are needed to mix the dough. They need the ovens. They can double up.
A lot of them use the same flour.
True.
And now it opens up another day part where you can have, pizza is lunch and dinner.
That's right.
Bagels in the morning.
Big morning crowd. Yeah. So bagels are a growing sector, and we've talked about this on the show. We had Phil Korshak on. In fact, I think you may have seen him when we were in Atlantic City. And you
were interviewing him and I interrupted you.
You crashed. You did it. What do you call it? A crash bomb or whatever it's called when you bomb somebody's photos.
Listeners who, if you have not been to an event like this where it's a trade show, but it's really a community gathering, and when you see somebody you haven't seen in a while, especially like Phil, he just closed his bagel shop.
Yeah,
and
national story.
All you want to do is not just say, "Oh, what can I learn from you, sir, who had a business?" I just want to give you a hug. I love you.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you.
Phil is really one of the most beloved guys in the business, and when you know him, you see why he is, and people follow him on Instagram where he reads his poetry and stuff like that. He's got a cult following, and then he ran into labor issues and union issues and all sorts of other stuff in Philly, and was forced to close his operation, and people were freaking out. My brother he lives in Philly. He called me and he said, "What am I going to do?" He was like having a panic attack. What am I going to do for bagels now that Phil's closed?
Well, what I love about Phil and the example of Phil and what he did in terms of running a business in food or running any business, is that so many business operators think of success in terms of, are the numbers going up? Does the graph go up? And with Phil, that wasn't the goal. The goal was, does this run in a way that makes sense for life and humanity?
Yeah.
And when it no longer did that, then it reached the end of the period of it being successful and working. And so there was no reason to continue it. In fact, continuing of it would have made it unsuccessful in terms of his original goal, even if he made more bagels.
It would have been soul crushing if he had continued it, because the joy would have gone out of it for him.
I love what he did, because a lot of people would have done the other thing and said, let me go to a more mechanized system, when his original goal is all about people.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, we're seeing the coming trend of mechanization and technology in pizza and in all restaurants.
Yeah.
AI and all this.
Robotics.
That's the big thing in the show this year, I think.
Is it? I haven't had a chance to walk really.
I think this is
here.
Well, there's not booths with giant robot arms.
Yeah.
Not yet. But I next year or the year after we will.
It's only a matter of time.
Uh-huh.
But that's again, you're right about when you come to a pizza expo, We used to also have that one in Atlantic City that was a smaller version. I don't think there's going to be one this year in Atlantic City, but I call it a tribal gathering because everybody who comes, the people, this is the independent pizza world. It's not the large pizza chains and everything else. I mean, they come and walk the floor looking for ideas, but they're not. It's not, the show's not for them. It's for the thousands of independent pizza operators to come together and share a couple days with other people who are in the trenches with them, doing the same thing, knowing that we're all in it together and we're not really competitors. We're really a community. And that's kind of a cool thing. People yearn for community.
Did you hear John Arena's
I
talk
got
the
here
other day?
after my plane didn't get me here in time.
Well, the summation of his talk was all about me, we.
Me and we.
The Muhammad Ali poem. Me, we. And it was all about, this is not just me. I do what I do because of the group.
Uh-huh.
It's not me against you. It's how can we raise everybody up.
And that's why he's so beloved and why he's the Yoda of pizza.
One of. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys, the Pizza Yodis.
Yeah, we got a couple of them, but he really is, I think, the pinnacle. He looks like Yoda when he's sitting there talking. You feel like you're in the presence of Yoda. Like,
Flour we shall use.
Yes, that's right, exactly.
Hydration we shall raise.
Well, John, like soon, like all of us, eventually is getting older, so he's now beginning to face his legacy. What's next? He still works every day in his pizza shop. His father, who's 90, almost 95, is working every day in the pizza shop. But John has become more than a pizza maker. He is a mentor. He's he's trained so many people, but basically a wisdom elder. He's an elder in the community, and he's in his late 70s now, mid 70s, something like that. So he knows that the clock is ticking. So he wants to see what is the next pinnacle for him, before the clock runs out, that he can give back to the community.
Oh yeah, and he does it so much. He teaches so much. I get to teach with him at Pizza University once or twice a year, and it's incredible. Every minute I'm with him, I learn something.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
he and I are flying out to California to check out his new place, Truly.
Oh, truly, yes.
Yeah, where I'm going to go spend the whole day there and then fly back home to the
Wow.
family Saturday morning.
Well, that's what makes you the pizza guy. I mean, you have a passion for pizza that is in a category by itself, and that's why everybody knows you, and you know everybody here because you've.
I just bug everybody.
Yeah.
I email them from my Hotmail email.
And you've been doing
address.
this like for 20 some years, and it seems like you're not running out of steam on this. You still have the same fire in your belly that you always had.
And it increases because the more people you meet, the more exciting it is, and people who are just entering the business now have a totally different perspective, and there's so much to learn from everybody. I'm here to continue to learn and try to pull that information outward, just like the me-we thing.
Right. Awesome. Well, when we get together again in May and we teach our class, for those who want to check it out, it'll be 3 days. Each day we're going to work on different types of pizzas. We're going to be making different kinds of doughs. And essentially it's almost a survey of the possibilities that can be achieved in this food product that we call pizza. It's not going to be only pizza napolitana or Detroit style. It's going to be a little bit of everything, and find out what the nuances are and the differences. And it should be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. It's the first time this course is being offered anywhere. So we and 3 days is a lot to ask for people. So it really is a course, and it's an immersion. It's an intensive. I think I call it a pizza intensive.
It is because it's camp. You're with these people full days.
Yeah.
Every day is 9 to 5 plus.
Or another way of thinking of it is a fantasy camp for pizza makers.
It really is. And we've had people in these classes in the past, professionals,
Yeah.
amateurs, people who are thinking about getting into the business, people who just want to be better at doing this thing, making pizza.
Yeah.
So it's a full spectrum. Everybody's invited. And you get to spend 3 days with Peter and 3 days of me bugging Peter.
Well, it should be a lot of fun. Before we run out of time today, though, I want to ask you about a couple of other things. I mentioned that Scott has his finger in a lot of pies, one of which is, we've talked about this with you many times, is pizza boxes. And I would just walk, as I was coming over here to where we're sitting at the Pizza University booth, I walked by, there's a pizza box booth. And I'm sure that you've been by there. And I was wondering if you had a chance to see any new designs, because you've got the world's largest collection of pizza boxes.
I do. I Guinness World Record.
And do you still have it like in your apartment or in your house, or do you?
I got good news, Peter. I moved it out of the apartment.
Yeah. Do you get a storage
into a
space?
storage space. And I'll send you a picture later. It's beautiful. I did the flooring in the storage space.
Wow.
It's I need to figure out a way to make it work.
You take people through there, like give them a little guided tour?
I'm thinking about it.
Put it on the Scott Pizza tour. Is the pizza box?
I need to figure out a way to pay for the storage. That's the problem.
That's the way to do it. Put it on the tour. You can write the whole thing.
So it'll be interesting. I haven't actually been by the pizza box booths, but that's probably where I'm going to go.
Just one row over, I think.
That's where I'm going to go later today.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw some nice designs. So that's one area. Pizza boxes is a passion. We used to have a feature. If you go to my website, pizzaquest.com, you can see a section in there. Just put Scott Wiener Pizza Box of the Week. And we used to have, like, we went for about 3 or 4 months of every week you showing us and telling us the backstory of one of your favorite boxes.
And it's funny because the only reason we really had to stop was because it was so hard to get the boxes out of that closet. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
If you were in New York and spent a day with me, we would go to the storage space. We could shoot 100 of them in that little storage space.
That was fun. And they were really fun episodes. They were short and sweet.
Oh, I loved it.
So that's one other thing that you do here. So we talked about the competition. We talked about Slice. Tell us what's going on with Slice Out Hunger, because that is really the philanthropic branch of your work.
Yeah, Slice Out Hunger is essentially a network of pizza people across the country who have pledged to support their communities through hunger relief programs. So if you're a pizzeria, then you've pledged that you're going to donate at least 30 pizzas per year to any local shelter or soup kitchen.
Wow.
You're a home pizza maker, you're going to donate at least 15 pizzas a year, or you're going to help raise $150. So that's it. And it's raising money for your local chapters, your local soup kitchens, not for our organization.
And you've got local all over the country chapters?
We have over 700 pizza partners across the country.
Wow.
So the idea is, with that network of people who've pledged to help, they're not making donations to us, they're donating locally. They're just part of the team. And that means that when we reach out, God forbid something happens, there's a hurricane, there's a tornado, an earthquake, if we see a need, we spring into action within 24 hours. And we say, hey, wildfires on Maui have devastated whole communities. Everybody make a Hawaiian pizza, and you're going to sell it for whatever, and donate 15% to this fund that we have had set up. And we're going to send all the money to somebody who's on the ground making food for people affected. We raised $40,000 in 3 or 4 weeks.
Wow.
And sent out checks for...
You work with Jose Andres, the World.
We don't work with them. I would love to, but that's certainly one place that we could donate money. We sent money to an organization called Mercy Chefs.
Oh, I know them. Yeah,
Mercy Chefs was doing some stuff. And then there were separate funds. We got to a point that there was so much support coming in for food that what they ended up saying was, you know what, we need just cash support. And there are some organizations that basically we're giving money to families whose homes were gone.
Wow.
So we sent them money.
Well, I remember when you started Slice Out Hunger, it was during the pandemic, and the original idea was...
we started it long before that.
Before that, but that's when I first became aware, because what you were doing then, which was unique, is you were actually paying pizzerias who had to go into turnaround mode and into pivoting, a way to keep them, making some money. You would raise the money and pay for the pizzas. You weren't asking them to donate the pizzas, and then you would get the pizzas to frontline medical workers. That was the unique idea. Yeah,
that's exactly right. We had a fund set up called the Pizza versus Pandemic Fund, and the idea would be anybody can donate. Oh, we want to keep local businesses moving. We want to support people who are being affected, and food insecurity increased sharply during COVID, and that campaign was really good because we raised a few $100,000 pretty quickly, which we then just used to buy pizza from local. And a lot of the pizzerias, once they started getting back on their feet, they said, oh, great, you know what? If you call us and order this pizza, it'll be 20% off.
Yeah.
And we're a nonprofit, so we don't have to pay sales tax and that kind of thing. So if you donated $200 to us, that money would go farther than you buying $200 worth of pizza.
Cool. Well, it's really evolved. And
we still do that. Instead of frontline healthcare workers, now it's shelters and soup kitchens. We call it the Pie It Forward program. So we're still doing that. We've got, I don't know what we have in the bank for that, but a few tens of thousands of dollars.
You must have a team now, an organization that's... Because, I mean, how much of your day, you've got your business to run, the pizza tours, you've got pizza tours going out every day in New York. It's just that's pays your bills. And then you've got, you come here to these pizza expos and take a major role in leading things. And then you got Slice Out Hunger. How much do you have to be hands-on that, or do you have now a team that you could just kind of help steer?
I'm very hands-on with it, but we do have a small team. Erin Rushai is our director of operations. She was a volunteer during Pizza vs. Pandemic, and she was incredible. So I said, I will find money to pay you. Can you just please work for me?
Oh, cool.
And so now she's full-time, and we have a couple of people who are part-time doing some work with like grant writing and design work. Like there's a lot of design elements we have to do for stuff. And social media, but beyond that, we're in fundraising mode where we need to hire more staff.
Yeah,
I need to hire an executive director.
Yes,
who will fire me.
That's it. The point is, you've got to get to the point where you're obsolete now.
Because I'm not a nonprofit. I'm not from that world. I believe in our mission more than anything. I confront that mission, but I'm not a person who runs nonprofits.
Yeah.
And right now, I donate my time. I've never been paid anything from Slice Out Hunger, but I spend probably at least 50% of my time on Slice Out Hunger currently.
Pretty amazing, yeah.
And it's because it's for a great purpose.
Yes.
And we have a really strong purpose, and it's unfortunate that it's so necessary.
Yeah.
Our dream, of course, like every other nonprofit, our dream is to not exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can only hope, but
unfortunately, it's not going to be in my lifetime.
Thank God you got the inclination and the time and energy to do it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, anything that's important is worth doing, and we all know this is like we're here for pizza, right? And somebody listening might think, "Oh, it's pizza. Well, what could it be?" But it's so much deeper. We've talked about the math, which is frustrating, the science, but the emotion of knowing other people, and also the power of pizza being a tool that connects everybody.
Yeah.
And that it's a tool that we can use to help people who are not in this business.
Well, that's right. Absolutely.
I'm only in the business in a weird, tiny, funny way. I'm not an operator. I don't manage a restaurant.
Right.
I won't.
You and I realized long ago we don't want to be back in the restaurant business. That's for sure.
No, but you've been in it.
I've been in it, yeah. And I go, it wore me out. It wasn't my calling.
No, you're a teacher.
That gave me a purpose then, a why that was more fulfilling than running the business. But if other people get that exact same sense of joy by running the business, and you have to have it. And there's nothing that's more fulfilling than a successful business.
That's true.
So we want to be supportive of that as well. Well, Scott, it's always great to see us meet up with you at these tribal gatherings here, and then I will see you in just a few weeks in at Pizza University. Please, folks, if you're listening and have any interest, go to the Pizza University website and check it out. There's other classes coming there as well. Scott's involved in more than just my class. You seem to be like the ever-present.
I'm a good wrangler.
Yeah, you're the great, and it's good because then you can play off of whoever the lead teacher is going to be. You can.
Well, I find
do some repartee.
A lot of time, my role is to translate what a pizza maker is trying to convey into like normal talk. Because if we're talking about something like baker's math,
we could have used you yesterday in the baker's math.
Oh, I really think people overthink it.
Well, it got presented, and if you see it laid out like you were saying, graphically on the chart, it makes sense. When someone's trying to explain it in words, people can't get their head around the words or keep up with it. So, but we got there, and we'll get more and more people every year. More and more people kind of come on board with baker's math, so
that make your life easier.
Exactly. Well, there it is. Great place to end it. Scott Wiener, good to see you again. Good luck with the judging today.
Thank you.
And I will see you in a few weeks in, I say Washington, D.C., but it's really Washington.
D.C. It's closer to D.C.
So it's in that corridor. So we'll see you at Pizza University.
Beltsville, Maryland.
Beltsville, Maryland. See you at Pizza University in Beltsville.
See you at Pizza University.
And thank you all for joining us on Pizza Quest today. We'll look forward to catching up with you again on the next episode. Thanks.
Pizza Quest is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.